So, well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to our February 26th LEF2 board meeting. I'd like to call it to order. Start off by just taking a quick moment of silence to remember our fallen brothers and sisters. All right, thank you very much. Again, during the legislative session, we have just a few things just to go over, so I will go ahead immediately and turn it over to, it looks like Jacob, the legislative update.
Okay, it's going to be a quick legislative update, especially with the emails I sent out on Friday. Not much has happened on any board-related legislation since then. But first, just want to start off with the board-endorsed bill, House Bill 1349 and its companion, Senate Bill 5306. This was the bill regarding authorized leave of purchasing service credit for authorized leave of absence when someone retires instead of returning to work. That bill has made it out of the House versions made out of the House, Senate versions made out of the House, and they've been referred to the other side's fiscal committees. I should have added the start of this. We're coming up on one of the first big cutoffs. The fiscal committee cutoff is this Friday. So those are both ahead of schedule for now. And then there was the board supported bill. This was the month of death bill that the board has endorsed in previous years and then chose to support this year. Both those bills have not made it out of the fiscal committees and have not been scheduled for any executive action at this time. So it's not looking like they're going to make it out before the cutoff, but we'll continue to keep an eye and update you. And then other bills of interest we've been tracking, we have the DCP auto enroll for local employers, and this was a DRS requested legislation that would allow local employers to use the auto enroll for option for state DCP that's been so successful for state employees. That has made it out of the House and been referred to the Senate. And then the Senate bill concerning creating a legacy pension system out of the three existing Plan 1s. That made it out of Senate Ways and Means. There was an amendment, committee amendment at Ways and Means that addressed concerns regarding there not being any changes to the disability boards for LEFF Plan 1. And so that has not been pulled to the floor yet in the Senate. So we're keeping an eye on that. And then House Bill 1571, which removed qualifiers related to the presumption for occupational disease for heart problems for law enforcement and firefighters. That bill did not make it out of the policy committee before the cutoff. So it looks like that will not be moving this legislative session. And then the operating budget, no updates on that. Still waiting on the Senate and House to release their budgets. So that's all I have for the legislative update. Hand it off to Steve, or if there's any questions about any of these bills or other bills, I'd be happy to answer them.
Any questions, go ahead and just unmute yourself. Go ahead. If not, we'll bring Steve up and he'll do the administrative update.
The governor had reached out to us after the last board meeting and directed all agencies to submit a plan to achieve 6% budget reductions for the upcoming biennium. Normally, when we get those kind of things, we respond to them and remind them that the board sets the budget, not us. But we had to respond within a week, and a response was mandatory. So what we submitted essentially was a plan that once I retire, my position would be left vacant and the budget reductions would come from the salary savings out of that vacancy. And that was enough to get to the 6%. Now, again, the decision is yours. And that was just something that I put together as a placeholder, if you will, to meet the requirement that we submit something. We got a message yesterday, a follow-up from OFM, and the governor is planning a press conference tomorrow regarding 6% agency budget cuts. And we should be hearing from our budget analyst specifically how that applies to us. There were some questions when we got the first memo, and we responded to that because, as you know, the board is not funded from general fund or near general fund. So 6% savings don't actually affect the state budget at all. But one of the things that we're looking to get clarified, certainly between now and the end of session, I don't know if it'll be clarified tomorrow, but it might be, is whether or not those 6% cuts apply to the LEOFF board. Again, we're a small agency and we're very lean. So just so that you know, there's no way, even if we cut everything out of the budget except salaries, there is no way to get to 6% without. So you can't get to 6% without touching salaries somehow. Depending on the additional directions that we get tomorrow, and then how the final budget ends up as we work through session, we'll be able to let you know at that first meeting when you start working on the interim work plan, just exactly what is expected of the board in terms of salary or budget reductions. Before I move on to anything else, are there any questions about that?
So this is Mark Johnston. Excuse me. So those decisions are made by, excuse me, the governor's office or the Office of Management?
They both work together on the budget. Mark, OFM is sort of the budget agency. All of our instructions are coming from OFM, but OFM is working to implement the governor's budget, if you will.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we'll keep you updated as we get more. And again, we're expecting more tomorrow, both with a press conference and with instructions or notes on the OFM website. Tim? Oh, Wolf? I'm sorry.
Oh, thank you. Apologies for the technical glitches.
It's all good.
Meantime, if I remember correctly, the funds for the LEOFF 2 board are not appropriated and are not allotted. So they're neither subject to appropriation or allotment. So I think it's really not feasible or possible for either OFM, the governor's office, or the legislature to implement a budget reduction pertaining to the LEOFF 2 board. I think we'd want to be thoughtful about not standing on a soapbox and waving our arms about that, but I don't believe it's something that can be done through budget or appropriation mechanisms. It may be something that we would be encouraged to do along with other similarly situated agencies and entities for which there are non-appropriated and non-allotted funds.
That is one of the questions that we brought to the attention when we got the original instructions, Wolf, and we're hoping to get some clarification on that. But in one way or another, we'll have all the answers to all of that for you when it comes time for you guys to act. let's see. I don't see any other hands up. We will have the first newsletter of the year will come out after session because of all the uncertainties about what might happen this session, particularly the merger bill. The thought was wait until after session when we can let everybody know what, if anything, did happen, as opposed to trying to send out a newsletter during the middle of session. So that'll go out in May. Will be, it'll get mailed out in May. The other thing to give you a heads up on is we've got a couple of outreach events coming up. The State Council of Firefighters has their educational seminar in April. That's in Kennewick, and Tim will be there to present, and the Ombudsman will be there as well. And then we have the Seattle Local 27. They periodically have what they call a financial wellness seminar, and they invite the left board up there to help answer questions about left 2 pensions. And so we'll have a representative at their wellness seminar as well, and that's in April. That is, yeah.
Just a question. So I know we've identified May as kind of when we'd like to do the mailing. The session is scheduled to end. Was it 28th
26th of April? Late April. Yeah.
Yeah. And there has been discussion, and depending on what this looks like regarding the deficit of the possibility of having a session extended. So I guess maybe instead of saying May, maybe we should say after the budget's adopted. Because I don't know if we're not going to have any answers until they get the budget regarding what the pensions are going to look like. So just thinking.
Yeah, we will, as far as the newsletter, yes, if there is a delay in session, and especially if the delay has to do with the operating budget and issues like merger or effects on the state, then we'll follow up with you guys at the April meeting in terms of whether or not it makes sense to have an abbreviated meeting in May or to begin the what normally would be the start of the interim at the May meeting. It'll definitely I would imagine it would definitely delay the newsletter, Dennis, but some of the rest of the things would probably still move forward. I would still imagine that the May meeting will kind of kick off the interim, if you will.
Thank you. All right. And then on the agenda, we had a section for public comment, and the Left 2 board welcomes public comment in advance of all meetings and has posted instructions on its website for the submission of written comments. The staff has received comments from Renee Marzeiger regarding surviving spouse medical insurance and distributed those comments to all the board members in advance of today's meeting. And we thank everyone for taking the time to submit their comments. So I imagine that letter and that question regarding the insurance for surviving spouses will be something either Steve, you can either talk about now, or we will probably end up addressing in May, like you said. So what are your thinking?
The idea, I can give you a brief heads up on it right now, and then it would be something that you would consider as potentially as part of your interim work plan when you start that process in May and June. But essentially, there was a bill initially to provide medical insurance to spouses when there's a line of duty death, spouses and family members. That bill provided that the insurance had to come from PEB. Okay. Then several years later, there was a proposal being developed by the left board regarding catastrophic disabilities. And part of that proposal was also insurance for the family of the catastrophically disabled retiree. At that time, PEB objected to including those retirees and their families in PEB for a number of different reasons. And the ultimate bill that was recommended by the board and passed by the legislature allowed the catastrophic disability retirees to continue with their own insurance or get whatever insurance they could find, and that would just be reimbursed by the fund. But they weren't mandated into PEB. Now, as the one of the first surviving spouses recently reached eligibility for Medicare and was contacted by PEB to say that their plan was being moved to the PEB Medicare plan. But the Medicare premiums aren't paid by PEB. They're paid by the retiree as a reduction out of their Social Security benefits. So there is no reimbursement for that for those retirees. So essentially, the initial part of the presentation would just be describing to you the differences between medical benefits provided to those two separate groups, how that plays out, and then possibly identifying solutions. Any changes to either catastrophic or surviving spouse medical would require legislation.
Thank you, Steve.
I don't have the math handy, but I do understand that when someone is covered by both PEB and Medicare, and you're required to sign up for Medicare Part B in order to obtain that coverage, the coordination, the effect on the individual's premium from the coordination of those benefits is a net savings. Even though there's a new cost paid to obtain Part B coverage, net, there's a reduction on the other side in the PEB premium because they can coordinate benefits with Medicare, where Medicare pays first and PEB fills in what Medicare doesn't pay. So there is a net benefit to the retiree, even though there's a new requirement to pay for something out of their pocket that they wouldn't have otherwise had to pay.
Yeah, the total cost of the medical coverage it goes down but the amount that the retiree has to pay goes up.
Yeah.
But we,
Yeah, I look forward to having more discussion on this so we can actually understand it better. So,
yep. The plan would be to put that as a potential topic for your interim work plan and slide it in with whatever else comes up, probably in May and June.
Sounds good. Are there other questions or comments?
Dennis, this is Miguel again.
Hey, Patrick, go ahead.
Just real quick, Steve, could you have Tim Valencia give me a call after the meeting?
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
The next meeting is scheduled for March 26th. That will still be during session. So the plan is to just have a legislative update and an administrative update. But again, as Jacob said, and I'll say the same thing, you're welcome to reach out to us with any questions that you have about legislative or administrative items anytime before the next meeting.
Okay. Thanks, Steve. Thanks to the team in Olympia. Appreciate all the work. Not seeing or hearing any other comments. Again, short meeting, just the updates. So I would entertain a motion to adjourn until March.
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and second to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we will be adjourned. Thank you, everybody, again, and we'll see you in a month. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Yep.